Hello, welcome. This is Kimberly Sasser for Chester Baptist Church, and I wanted to take some time to have a chat with our new senior minister, Nate Travis. Hi,
Hello.
Nate.
Hey, Kimberly.
So how are you doing?
I am doing. It's been, I guess we're coming up on the end of 3 months and here at the church. And I would say not to speak for my family, we are doing well. Doing well. We're enjoying it. Good.
I am so glad.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what was it that attracted you to Chester Baptist Church? How did you come to pick us?
I think how I found it was literally a bit of a long shot. I think early on when it was just going through the process of finding the job. I have family in the area, so that was kind of a draw where I was like, that wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be a bad place to be. And then researching the area, because when I saw that Chester Baptist had the job opening, you put some information in, not meeting anyone, and then do some research on the area, and you're going, you know what, that wouldn't be bad if they called me back. And so in my first wash at the area, I went, you know what, that wouldn't be bad at all. And then after, going through that next spot, which was the questionnaire and answered a lot of those questions. And I hadn't written that many words, that long of an essay since I'd been in seminary. So there was quite a lot of writing that I needed to do. Then I met the search team and I actually really enjoyed that conversation. And if you remember, it went pretty long because you were on that. But I was rather long-winded. I think, it was COVID. I was meeting strangers. I'm an extrovert. I enjoyed those conversation that time. And I think that was really early on doing the research of the church and just online looking at what the facility looked like and the parking lots. It just looked like a healthy, vibrant, like physical structure. And then meeting those people in the search committee. Those were the initiating things that really made it go, hey, I'd really like it if God landed our family in this.
That's terrific. We really enjoy talking with
Okay, good.
you. I wanted to ask you about some of the things you're doing now. You started since you've joined our church.
Okay.
What are you working on?
What am I working on? Well, it's like I came in with a little bit of a preaching teaching plan, and I really kind of had in mind Easter as kind of like the first goal. So, before I come, it's kind of like have a plan from January 1st through Easter, and Easter's coming up. So currently I'm kind of looking at, that's the next plan. I kind of had one that went a little bit past, but now I've got to look at what's the next plan, but I didn't come up with a full year because I wanted to kind of be on the ground. I wanted to be here, get to know some people, be around, kind of see how things work, to kind of get an idea of what's needed and what the true things are. Because we can only know so much about each other in the search process and the interview process, and even showing up and preaching and teaching. There's only so much you can know, but to actually, be here and spend time in the office and get to know the staff, who I've really enjoyed working with, love them, has now, said, okay, now we could start looking at things a little bit further down the road because I actually have learned the depth of the different information. I just knew the surface level. And so some of that planning is taking place, and then working out what that looks like. And then the other piece is we got COVID, right? And so there's the part of, okay, what does it look like? All the research says we're not going to return to the normal of what church was. So the 2019 church that Chester Baptist knew is not returning, but there is something returning. And so it's how do we step into that? What's going to work? What's going to be effective? What do people need? And creating a plan and a structure for that going forward. So that's probably constantly in my mind of what will that look like and how do we get there? So,
I think we are all looking for that.
yes. Yeah.
So you spoke about the things that you're looking at now.
Hmm.
Can I ask you about with our community? You dealt with our church. What about with our community?
Well, again, it's hard to get in, go out and meet people, just go out
Mhm.
and build relationships. There, I've met a couple through the association. I've met a couple of the other local pastors and been able to connect with them and build some relationships with them. Built a good relationship with a guy recently from a Christian counseling group Kind of so when there are people that have needs that come in and say, man, we really it goes beyond my expertise into someone who's had the training and the licensing to do those things. Now have a place to refer those people that trust. And so I'm really thankful that God kind of developed that relationship. I think some of the community pieces are just continuing to gotten to know that Chasm, who meets in our facility, who has their offices in our facility, has a new CEO as of last April. And so getting to know him and understand the mission and vision there and working with him, kind of just met today with the Shepherd Center, who comes on our campers and uses our campus. And so that's community based. Even talking to the preschool board earlier this week and talking because that is also something that goes in the community, kind of just finding out what those things are that we already do and kind of finding out how those work and seeing how we could continue those things and even what their plans are in COVID and how to handle all this stuff. I think it's been kind of the process in there. And also kind of community wise, we're still ready to receive, even though people aren't necessarily ready to come out. And when I say receive, there are needs people have, and we're ready to get. So the food pantry's been active and going, and so we haven't had as much happen in the food pantry as we did prior to COVID, but that's because the local Chesterfield County Food Bank has been doing such a wonderful job, and everybody's been going in that direction. But we're continually be poised to receive more that comes, and kind of working with Chasm to say, hey, we're available and ready to do those things has been great for us. So community minded has been let's build the infrastructure and continue to have the infrastructure to meet the needs people have and then see and be ready for God to use that. But I'd love to get to that place where go out and actually build relationships to see what God has to go even further. But I've got to be a little more patient for those things to actually take place and really engage in that.
So there's preaching, there's teaching, there's relationship building. Out of ministry, what would you say is your favorite?
Well, my favorite part is, let's see, I don't know if it's a thing that I do or if it's like a philosophy of the way I like to approach ministry. I would say I like the ministry for I like to look at the idea of the whole family, and that could be from birth to our seasoned adults. That means from child dedications to grandparents and great grandparents, and creating an opportunity for the whole family to worship together and be together. And I know that's some of the strengths that Chester Baptist has had throughout its history, because when I talk to people, they've been at this church for 30, 40, 50 years, and they raised their kids here, and kind of looking at that idea, that makes it fun for me because I'm about to raise my kids at this church and kind of like creating that next generation of those families that go through it. So that family idea, that multi-generational ministry that comes together where there's something about the grandparent that pours into the life of a child, and they you regularly hear people talk about my faith grew because of my grandmother and she read her Bible every day and the lessons she taught me. At the same point, you take the seasoned adult and you put them around kids and you just watch a different life come out of them. And so that cross generational piece really, I think, adds to our growth because it helps us kind of approach the throne of God the way He wants us to, because we don't just get stuck in our cycle, but we kind of cross pollinate, and there's a joy that comes out, and parents having the role of now then moving into the role of caring for their parents, so that children, adult sons and daughters caring for their parents as they get into the later years. And then, the independence that the young adults get, but yet some of them come home and stay home, and like seeing how all that blends really is my favorite part, to watch a family grow in Christ, to watch a family grow because of God's impact on it. Really means.
That is amazing. And I have to agree. It's so warming.
Mhm.
I guess I don't want to keep you here all day. So I'm going
Okay.
to wind up with my last question.
It's quick.
Hopefully, we'll talk again.
Sure.
So, what is it you're looking forward to after the pandemic? Getting out of this pandemic,
Hmm.
what are you looking forward to most personally?
Yeah.
And
I would say more golf would be one thing, because that but golf's at least one of those things where I can get outside and socially distance and get out and play. So it's but it's being able. I'm an extrovert, which means I get energized by being around people. So just a conversation with you today has brought my heart rate up a little bit of, oh boy, I'm talking to another human. The I think more of I get to do more of that. Um, I would say it's interesting. There's something I know I don't want to lose, and that is I'd say most parents in my generation would have said prior to the pandemic, I wish I had more time with my kids because their kids were so overprogrammed. They had their kids in every organization and every sport, every activity. And guess what? All of a sudden, it was like God said, "Oh, guess what? You're spending time as a family at home." And for some families, that was great. Some families, it exposed some things that hurt, and some of those families had to work through some tough things. But for me, I almost don't want families to go all the way back like it was. I want them to hold some of that connectedness. I don't want ours to go back to this full, like all the way out there. But it's kind of like now when I go out, I want to do stuff with the family out, not just because I know we've laughed a lot as a family because you just get to a point where you got to laugh. And there are things because you're on living on top of each other, and that's been great. But I know there are things where, going being able to just both my mom and my wife's parents live in Florida. To be able to just go without worrying about any kind of travel restrictions or what that means, to go see extended family without a worry, I'm looking forward to that. Like to just be like, it's just a normal plan. Now you got to think about, well, if we go there, does your state allow this? Does your state allow that? Do I need to wind up, staying in a third state for 13 days and 12 hours, before they'll let me in? To not worry about all that stuff. It's funny. I also am ready to be done with masks. I understand the value, but I was joking with somebody in the office. They respond with facial expressions, but I only see this much of it. And so I don't really know what it is. And as I'm getting to know people, I don't know full things. And so I'm guessing that was a positive. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was that hurt me face. I don't know. So there's some guesswork in there that I'm looking forward to being gone because I get to see the whole picture. I get to see the whole face. Because seeing people's faces light up and smile. I will tell you, preaching on a Sunday morning with people's faces half covered, I like to throw a little joke in there every now and then. And when you don't even see a inkling of a smile, you just feel like a complete failure on that joke. But then talk to somebody later and they go like, no, that was funny. And it's like, I had no idea. I couldn't tell because it just looked like it fell flat. I mean, I said something about a man flu the other day. Nothing. Crickets. But that just meant, do you know what a man flu is?
I think I do, but I'm not sure. I
See,
want to
it might have been a generational thing. I might have messed up there. So that's on me. That's on me.
Well, I've enjoyed the chance to get to know you.
Mhm.
And I know the rest of the people are looking forward to a chance to get together with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time today.
Yes, thank you. And I'm looking forward to getting with anybody I can.